Hello, Gavin Hoey here with another Photoshop tutorial. This week I'm going to show you how you can wrap a texture or a pattern around an object. So this is the picture we're hopefully going to end up with, or something vaguely similar to it. It's a picture of my hand and I've wrapped a Union Jack around it. So how do we do that? Well, let's go right back to the beginning. I've got the first images that I used here. This is a picture of my hand, of course, and I've cut it out from the background just to save a bit of time. Now, I've also got a picture of a Union Jack. It's just a straightforward graphic, nothing clever. So we're going to get a move tool and we'll drag the hand and drop it onto the Union Jack, like so. Okay, we can close the hand down, we don't need it anymore. But you can see it's kind of floating in the air, so we need to do a bit of repositioning with this, and for that I'm going to use Free Transform and just drag it and put it in the right place. Now, it's important that you get this positioned where you'd like it to end up, right at the beginning, because it's not something you can change later on, so you've got to be happy with it now. Okay, so I'm happy with that, that's in the right place. So how do we wrap this Union Jack around the hand? Well, we're going to use one of Photoshop's oldest filters, and you'll find it under Filter and Distort and Displace. Now, the Displace filter has to be, without question, the least intuitive and least helpful filter inside of Photoshop, and there's a lot of competition for that prize, but I reckon this one wins, because when you load it up you get this little box here which really doesn't tell you anything, and then if you click OK it asks you to load a displacement map. Now, what on earth are displacement maps and how do you load them? Okay, well, let's cancel that and go back to the beginning, because we need to do a bit of work to produce a displacement map. And what the displacement map does is to bend, in our case the Union Jack, into the shape and contours of the object, in our case my hand. Right, so let's close down the Union Jack layer, we don't need that for now, so we're only having the object, my hand, visible. Now we really need a black and white version of this, so let's get rid of the colour, Image, Adjustments and Desaturate. And we really want a really good contrasty version of this as well. So back to Image, Adjustment and Levels. Because what the displacement map does is to look at the tones in the picture. So where it finds a good black, it'll push the pixels in one direction. Where it finds a good white, it'll push the pixels in another. And where it finds a mid-grey, it'll leave them untouched. So if we bump up the contrast, we can get rid of that sort of greyish tone to the hand and have an image that has a lot more contrast in it, like so. So now we have some really deep blacks, some really bright whites, and not that many grey tones. Okay, so we can click OK. And there's one last thing we need to do to this map as well, and that's go back to Filter, choose Blur and Gaussian Blur. Because at the moment it's a dead sharp image, and that's fine, but it does tend to make your distorted image, your flag in my case, look a little bit sort of jaggedy. So we want it a little bit smoother than that. So I'm going to put the radius, anything between about 5 and 10 pixels works pretty well. So I'm going to put mine up to about 9 pixels. By trial and error, I found that to be about the right setting. Right, now we need to save this. So we'll go to File, choose Save As, and call it something other than the current name. I like to call mine Map, so I know exactly what this is. This is going to be a displacement map. And save it somewhere that you're going to remember where it is. Okay, that's fine. Right, so that's made the displacement map. Let's go back to our layers, and we're going to go for undo a few steps. So we're going to step backwards, edit, step backwards again, until we get back to the hand the way it was before we started fiddling with it. Now we're also going to make a copy of that Union Jack by making a copy of the layer and popping it at the top above the hand and turning it on.